This is the first foldable smartphone in human history, the Samsung Z Fold Gen 1. And these are the top-tier foldable smartphones that I've actively used before. Here we have 3 smartphones from Samsung: Samsung Z Fold 4, Z Fold 5, and Z Fold 6. And these are Chinese smartphone manufacturers. These are the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, Honor Magic V2, and OnePlus Open. And in this video, we will choose the absolute winner out of all foldable smartphones. Well friends, let's go! Hey friends, this video was translated using AI, so the sound quality isn't the best. If you prefer watching the original video, just follow the link in the description. Friends, we already did a big camera test of Samsung Z Fold 6 and Vivo X Fold 3 Pro on our channel. If you're interested in a more in-depth review of these phones, make sure to check it out. The link will be in the description. We're looking at prices for the 512GB versions, and of course, they can vary from seller to seller. Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. I personally pre-ordered it for $2,500, and it's the most expensive smartphone of all in our selection. Now you can find it for a price starting from $1,500. I got the brand new Vivo X Fold 3 Pro for $1,600. You can now get them starting from $1,350. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 with 512GB can be found starting from $1,249, and the Z Fold 5 starting from $1,165. That's very strange. The OnePlus Open is also being sold on Amazon for $872, and the Honor Magic V2 for $925, and we're talking about new smartphones, not used ones. Let's start, as we should, with unboxing. With the Z Fold 6, Samsung included a charging cable, a SIM ejector tool, and some useful paperwork. The 4th and 5th generations of the Z Fold included exactly the same accessories as the new model. Another new device in our selection is the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro. Besides all of that, they also included a power adapter and a branded case. The OnePlus Open comes with an 80-watt power adapter, a cable, and a branded case. The Honor Magic V2 box includes a branded 66-watt charger, a power cable, a branded case, and excellent Honor Earbuds 3 Pro, which still cost $189 on Amazon. Not only that, but I also received a gift, the Honor Watch 4 smartwatch, which, by the way, currently cost around $100. Isn't it just nice to get gifts when you buy flagship smartphones? Isn't it, Samsung? These phones aren't small, so dimensions are extremely important here. You still have to carry them around all the time. The lightest of all the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, weighing in at 236 grams. It's just 1 gram heavier than the Honor Magic V2. The Samsung Z Fold 6 weighs 239 grams. The OnePlus Open weighs the same, but the Z Fold 5 weighs a whole 253 grams. And the heaviest of all, Z Fold 4, weighs a whopping 263 grams. The thinnest of all is the Honor Magic V2 with a body thickness of just 4.7 millimeters. Second place goes to the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro and it's 5.2 millimeters. Third place goes to the OnePlus Open. The body is 5.8 millimeters thick. Samsung turned out to be the thickest at 5.6 millimeters for the 6th generation, 6.1 millimeters for the 5th generation, and 6.3 millimeters for the 4th generation. The Samsung Z Fold 6, just like its previous versions, features a 7.6-inch, 120Hz dynamic AMOLED display, which differs from a regular AMOLED with a better dynamic range, brightness, and reduced blue light emission, which is harmful to the eyes. The main difference between displays of different generations of Z Fold is the maximum declared brightness: 1200 nits for the 4th, 1750 nits for the 5th, and 2600 nits for the 6th. The Vivo X Fold 3 Pro and OnePlus Open also feature a 120Hz AMOLED display, 7.82 inches for the former and 8.03 inches for the latter. For the Honor Magic V2, we have a 120Hz OLED, 7.92 inches. Regarding maximum brightness, OnePlus claims 2800 nits, Honor 1600 nits, and Vivo boasts 4500 nits. Now, using this little gadget, we'll measure the PWM on our screens. Well, let's go! All the Samsung phones performed extremely poorly in PWM measurements, especially the 5th generation. It has PWM that significantly exceeds comfortable usage levels, going over 100% at low brightness. The Z Fold 4 and 6 are generally a bit better, but they still have a ways to go to catch up to Chinese competitors. Among them, the Honor Magic V2 is the clear leader. Slightly behind it is Vivo, and in 3rd position is the OnePlus Open. By the way, Vivo has a cool feature called full pulse width modulation. It significantly reduces the PWM coefficient, which we demonstrated in our recent extensive Vivo X Fold 3 Pro test. Thanks for the tip to you, our viewers. Your comments are a great help to us. Again, Chinese smartphones are leading in the internal display tests. First place definitely goes to Honor, OnePlus and Vivo share the second place. Bronze goes to the Z Fold 6. The 5th and 4th generations of the Z Fold, unfortunately, once again showed excessive PWM. It's very important to talk about the hinge. It's the most crucial thing in foldable smartphones. And from my personal experience, the worst hinges were on the Z Fold 1. That was the very first hinge. That is, even at this angle, the smartphone can't hold itself and closes up. I generally really liked this feature of the smartphone, yes, the foldable smartphone. And I even really liked how it closed at the time. Now, of course, manufacturers are making completely different hinges. Up until the 5th generation, the Z Fold 5, I believe Samsung had the worst hinges because they were the first to do it and set this trend. On the Samsung Z Fold 2, Samsung Z Fold 3, and Samsung Z Fold 4, the protective film on the center of the screen was peeling off for me after about 6 or 7, maybe 8 months of active use. I carried this phone Z Fold 4 with me for a little over 8 months, and I started to notice bubbles forming on the crease of the phone. And that is, of course, super unpleasant. Replacing it yourself is possible. Perhaps you know how to replace it yourself, how to peel off this film. Maybe. I actually decided not to do it myself. I turned to a repair center in Moscow, but after they put this new screen protector on, my smartphone now won't fully open to 180 degrees. It's simply impossible to open it. Some glue got in here. See, I'm even wiping it off right now. Every time I fully fold and unfold it, glue is leaking out. And right here, you can really feel the sticky glue after they installed this protective film for me. Starting with the Z Fold 5, I think Samsung has made really impressive hinges. And this smartphone, the Z Fold 5 for example, has been around for a whole year now. It's been with me for a year now, exactly a year of use. I actively used it for 6 months, then I gifted it to a friend, and now my friend is actively using it too. He didn't need someone to replace the film. There are no problems, no bubbles either. That hinge on the Z Fold 5 turned out to be really great. The screens fit together really well, so there are no more issues with dirt getting in. Z Fold 4, by the way, has a hinge that works pretty well too. Yeah, overall they made it quite good, meaning it also holds any angle. It's steady at absolutely any angle, so it's a sturdy hinge. But because these halves didn't meet, dirt constantly got in. If you look at the Z Fold 6, this was a logical continuation. I think they made the gap even tighter once again. So now you can barely see this gap. It almost isn't there at all. They've also implemented protection not only from water but from dust. Meaning, dust shouldn't get in there, in theory. Well, we'll test it of course and see how that all plays out. Also, many people notice this sort of gap in the middle. Yeah, it's there, but when I use it, I barely notice it. When I'm watching content, like from this angle, I don't even notice that crease at all. It becomes totally invisible. That crease, it was on the original Fold. And it didn't bother me then. Even though it's clearly here, you can see it's there. But even when I look at it like this, if I'm browsing content on YouTube or something similar, I don't notice the crease. And of course, that the crease becomes practically non-existent on the Z Fold 5 and Z Fold 6. Here, if you look at it like this, everything looks fine here. The Z Fold 2, Z Fold 3, and Z Fold 4 really did have a crease. Well, right now, of course, because I can't even fully unfold the smartphone, the crease is really visible. But even using it like this, watching some kind of movie, I don't think there will be any problems. While we're talking about Samsung, I can't help but share my experience using the Z Flip 3 Thome Browne edition. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend this smartphone for purchase at all. It has a terrible hinge, and the screen protector has already peeled off after just a week of use. And this is a brand new smartphone. There's a pretty large gap between the screens. And dust and dirt often get in there. And as a result, the film starts to deteriorate. And here's how it looks right now. And here's how it sounds. So dust and dirt get in here, and subsequently this film needs to be replaced after some time. Or you can just remove it and use it without it, but then you could damage the screen. Now let's move on to the OnePlus Open. They used a similar hinge here on the OnePlus Open as they did on the Z Fold 5 and Z Fold 4, meaning it unfolds smoothly like this. See, it holds almost any angle. So roughly yes, I'd say it holds up until about 45 degrees. And then it closes. There are no issues with the screen protector here. I've never had to change it here. Dirt doesn't get in there because once again, the smartphone folds completely. And there's absolutely no gap. I've been actively using this smartphone for 6 months. Really actively using it. And it's still lying around here. More than like what? I bought it 9 months ago, I'd say. Here, I'm not experiencing any issues with dust or other foreign objects getting in. Honor Magic V2. Here, This thing actually feels a little different. It's like there's a double crease here. There are no problems with this smartphone. Everything looks extremely good, and the crease isn't noticeable. The smartphone can also comfortably hold any angle. Here's 90 degrees. There's somewhere around 100, maybe 120 degrees. Like that we get 30 degrees, 45 degrees. By the way, as soon as we get to around 45 degrees, if it's less than that, the phone won't close by itself. It holds it just fine, no problem. I haven't replaced the screen protector at all. The crease, again, I don't really notice it. The internal screen is reliable, everything's good. Okay, the only thing is, this smartphone doesn't offer water or dust resistance. It doesn't come with any protection, but after about 4 months of active use, I haven't had any issues, if we're talking about the Hinge specifically. Next up is the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro. And in general, the situation is similar here. The hinge is reliable, everything is attached securely enough, so there are no gaps, absolutely no gaps that I can see. If you look at the phone like this, there are no issues, everything here feels solid, and I think the hinge itself will last a long time and work well. I hope, and here as well we can also, as you can see, set it to any angle. And generally speaking, the hinge confidently holds any angle of our smartphone. The crease doesn't distract or bother me at all. Let's go over the processors. The Z Fold 6 and Vivo both have a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. The Z Fold 5, Honor, and OnePlus also have Snapdragon chips, but of the second generation. And the oldest processor, as you'd expect, is in the Z Fold 4. It has a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. So, now let's launch the Antutu test and see how well our processors perform. Well, that was an interesting test result. That's it, it's ready. We already have the OnePlus test result. I honestly don't understand how we got through the test so quickly, even though it looks like the same app. Well, I wanted it to perform a thorough test, but it said, that's it, I'm finished. Bada bing bada boom, we're done. Although, on all the other smartphones, the test run normally. Friends, if we're summing up the processor speed test, the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro definitely comes first. Although, having the same processor as the Samsung, the Vivo performs faster. Here, it's likely that this is a Chinese version of Antutu. By the way, it's not so easy to install, it's not available on Google Play. And perhaps this is precisely why Antutu runs better on Chinese smartphones. But on the other hand, we see a different picture. Here we have the Samsung Z Fold 5th generation. In theory, it has a Snapdragon Gen 2 processor. Here, and in theory, its speed should be roughly equal to the OnePlus Open. But it's noticeably faster. Honor Magic V2, the processor here is generally very slow. Even slower than on the Samsung Z Fold 4. Samsung Z Fold 1, as expected, is the most ancient, so to speak, of our foldable smartphones. This is the first foldable smartphone, 548,433. Next in terms of speed is the Honor Magic V2. I'm actually very surprised. Then the Samsung Z Fold 4, then the OnePlus Open, and, accordingly, the Z Fold of the 5th generation, then the Z Fold 6, and the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, turned out to be the fastest. What about the batteries? Samsung is sticking with the stability again. They're using the same 4400 mAh battery, just like in the 5th and 4th Fold. The charging speed is 25 watt, which is really weak for a 2024 flagship. For comparison, Vivo's charging speed reaches 100 watt, and they have a 5700 mAh battery. In a large test comparing the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 and the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, we clearly demonstrated how Samsung doesn't hold its battery as well. Starting with the same charge level, by the end of the day its charge was 12% lower than the Vivo. Overall, the X Fold 3 Pro is very pleasing both in terms of battery life and charging speed. From my personal experience, I'd had it start charging with 0% battery life, and after just 10 minutes it was already around 30% charged. Absolutely amazing. Honor has 5,000 mAh, OnePlus has 4,805 mAh, and both support 60 watt charging. Samsung, what's going on here? For foldable smartphones, the battery is also very important. The battery lasted me roughly one full day on all the smartphones. Meaning, I take the phone in the morning and had to charge it in the evening. There was about 20% left, something like that. Considering that I have actively watched videos, reviewed edits and left notes, worked with social media, watched some content, also listened to music. In general, just regular usage. I don't play games on these smartphones. All the Fold devices worked well, I didn't have any problems with them. This OnePlus has the largest battery, but I'm having the most issues with this smartphone. That's actually why it's plugged in now, because it ran out of power. It was just sitting on my desk, and it completely drained. It's currently at, well, I've now charged it to 51%. But when we just started shooting these tests of the various window modes, it had only 5% left. Although, it was at 100% earlier today, and it was just lying there. I practically didn't even use it. So, the OnePlus Open is just draining at an unreal speed. I have to say, I just have all sorts of tracking apps installed. I tested all kinds of watches on this smartphone. From Garmin to MS Fit, Polar, and so on. Basically everything is installed here, and it feels like they're tracking my activity. Basically, the phone just sits there, and it's still counting steps. I guess it's registering them. I don't know, it's constantly trying to connect to GPS. And right now this phone is the worst one in terms of battery life for me. Basically, it's only been about 6 months old, well maybe 8 months. But at the same time, the battery is just completely gone. Either it needs to be completely reset to 0, reinstalled, fully rebooted. Otherwise the battery drains on this smartphone. Well, for example, I took it to Dubai once, to a different location. I picked it up, took a few photos, shot a couple of videos, and listened to some music. I'm looking, and I already have 20% left, while I had 100% when I started. I'm just blown away. I don't understand what the problem is, but I think that it's specifically because of the heavy usage of all of these fitness apps. Just because of them, it actually had the worst battery life of all the phones I've tested. Probably Honor is the best of all, but with the Honor Magic V2, you get notifications, but very rarely. Because it decides for itself which notifications to show you and which not to, based on which apps heavily drain the battery, and which apps not so much. And therefore you need to be extremely careful with this smartphone. I very often miss notifications that I need to respond to. Either it just decides not to show them to me, or the notifications just aren't coming from some apps, although I have them all enabled. And now, let's briefly cover wireless charging. Vivo once again is in the lead with its 50 watts. All 3 generations of Samsung also support it, but at only 15 watts. And the reverse charging is available on all the smartphones listed above. However, the OnePlus Open and Honor Magic V2 don't have wireless charging at all. Let's go over the lenses of the smartphones, and I'll share my experience shooting with these smartphones. Samsung evidently adheres to the principle consistency as a sign of mastery, or a sign of stagnation. Judge for yourselves. The ultra-wide is 12 megapixels, the main camera is 50 megapixels, and the telephoto is 10 megapixels. And it's been the same across all 3 generations I have here. Yes, the Z Fold 6 can now record video in 8K at 30 frames per second. But of course, this is implemented thanks to the new processor, not the cameras. The Vivo X Fold 3 Pro has a 50 megapixel ultra-wide and main camera, as well as a 64 megapixel telephoto lens. Honor also has a 50 megapixel ultra-wide and wide-angle lenses, but the telephoto lens is 20 megapixels. The OnePlus is equipped with a 48 megapixel main camera, the same ultra-wide lens, and a 64 megapixel telephoto lens. We've already released a comprehensive camera test of the Samsung Z Fold 6 and Vivo X Fold 3 on our channel. It was a very worthy battle. So what about the front-facing cameras? The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 has a 10 megapixel main front camera and a secondary one with 4 megapixels. The 5th and 4th generations of the Fold have exactly the same cameras. The Vivo X Fold 3 has a 32 megapixel main front camera and a secondary one with 4 megapixels. The OnePlus Open features front cameras with 20 megapixels and 32 megapixels. The Honor Magic V2 has only one front camera with 16 megapixels. Well, and now let's talk about the cameras, the most interesting thing about smartphones. And here, I have to say, Samsung really surprised me honestly. Even in the newest smartphone, the Samsung Z Fold 6, they absolutely didn't put any new lenses in it. They just changes the way they look a little, that's it. Meaning, the Samsung Z Fold 4, which came out 2 years ago, has exactly the same cameras. That's just an epic fail. Typically when you upgrade your smartphone, well, when you buy a new generation of a phone, you'd expect some major improvements to the cameras, some new useful features. Even from a software perspective, there are almost no improvements. Essentially all of these 4th, 5th, and 6th generations have the same focal lengths. We can't do some super zoom, like I don't know 30x, 50x, right? Essentially, they're offering basic 12x zoom in video mode, and 30x zoom in photo mode respectively. And precisely because of that, because Samsung hasn't updated their cameras at all, I switched to the OnePlus Open. The cameras here are significantly better. First of all, we can also do 20x zoom in video mode. In photo mode, while we have 30x zoom here, The OnePlus Open can do 120x zoom. When I reviewed the Honor Magic 6 Pro against the Samsung S24 Ultra, after that review I decided to try Honor smartphones, because I really like that phone. Because of all these different cool features. I bought it, tested it, and I'm going to be honest with you, the cameras are alright. I mean, portrait mode works well here, photo mode works well, but it's not better than Samsung's. It's pretty much the same situation here. Many of our channel's subscribers have requested that we do a review of the Samsung S24 Ultra versus the Vivo X100 Ultra. And we've made that review. The link will be in the description again, be sure to check it out. And after the immense joy I experienced when I got the Vivo X100 Ultra and tried shooting with it, I decided I needed to try the top-of-the-line foldable smartphone from Vivo. Vivo X Fold 3 Pro. And yes, first of all, I was very impressed by the cameras here. Basically, all those great features that were on the Vivo X100 Ultra are present here. This is just fire. I was really happy when I opened the More mode and saw all these cool features. That Supermoon mode that I really liked. The portrait mode is just freaking amazing. It's simply on another level. Yeah, thanks to these telephoto lenses, you can take really great shots. Again, I really like this feature. Yeah, here it is in portrait mode. Here it is the color styles. Also poses. Yes, they're all here. All these modes are here. And of course, I was very pleased about that. And honestly, right now I'm leaning more towards the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro. The only thing I absolutely didn't understand about this smartphone is the front-facing camera mode. It's only available in full HD at 30 frames per second. I really don't understand why they messed up like that. I think it might be related to the software, but I don't know why they can't do 4K at 60 frames per second. And the thing is, our oldest Samsung, our ancient Samsung Z Fold 1, can record video on the front-facing camera in 4K at 60 frames per second. How did this even happen? But in terms of cameras, I'd probably choose the X Fold 3 Pro. In terms of camera placement, the OnePlus Open proved to be the most inconvenient. When shooting one-handed, it's easy to cover the lens. The Vivo X Fold 3 Pro looks better. The camera module is smaller and it's placed higher. The other smartphones have the usual camera arrangement in the upper right corner, which makes them the most convenient. In terms of ergonomics, well, my favorite is Samsung smartphones in general. I really like them. Even the Samsung of the first generation feels great in the hand. Yes, it's possible that some people might find it a bit long. Although, look at this, comparing them in height now. This is Samsung and Vivo. And Vivo is actually taller than it. I used all of them. From the first to the 6th generation. I genuinely enjoy them. I really like the ergonomics of these smartphones. Double-clicking the power button activates the camera, and then you can take photos with the volume button. Meaning, you don't need to use your second hand at all. Definitely a thumbs up for this one. And I really like the ergonomics in that regard. But the first detail we immediately notice, due to this elongated screen and its narrowness, is that using the main display is quite uncomfortable. Typing on it, well, it was really awkward, it was quite difficult to hit the keys. I barely used the front screen. You can see it was very small on the first generation. That's why the phone always required you to unfold the smartphones like this. Here you can have a larger keyboard. Everything is very convenient. Its typing experience is exceptional. Overall, there are no issues here. Even on the 4th Fold, there's the same issue. But in terms of design, I really like the square shape on the Samsung. I genuinely enjoy it. I'm familiar with them, having used them for a long time. Yes, of course they all remain almost identical. Only the Samsung Z Fold 6 has become a bit wider. And actually, the Samsung Z Fold 6 already gives us a super convenient keyboard. It's comfortable to use with one hand here. And here, you can essentially type and hit any key you need without issue. After Samsung, I got the OnePlus Open. The screen here is very large, wide, meaning it's like a regular smartphone. And basically, it's super convenient to type here, really. But OnePlus has a significant drawback. The smartphone is probably the widest of our other devices. It has a significant problem when I activate the camera block and want to shoot with the ultra-wide lens. You can see my finger gets in the frame right here. You can see it in the frame right here. Especially if I want to take a photo with one hand. Reaching for this volume button to take the photo is simply impossible. Generally, Chinese brands really love to put this ultra-wide lens down. I think this is absolutely wrong. And it needs to be fixed on all smartphones without exception. It's super inconvenient. Now let's talk about the ergonomics of these foldable smartphones from Honor. They're making them thinner and thinner. They have the thinnest smartphone there is. Honestly, I don't know who this is for. I really don't need this extreme thinness. It's very difficult to open. Friends, to open it just like that, it's almost impossible. I mean, you really have to force your way in there, yes. Can it push hard? If you give this to someone who's never held a foldable smartphone, it's going to be super difficult for them to open. Yes, there's a volume rocker here. And mostly, when I open the smartphone, I grab it. Basically, I'm already instinctively gripping this volume rocker, and only then I open the phone. Basically, it's alright if you do it like that, yeah. It's more or less convenient. Also, they come with this case, right? Here's my case, yeah? I'm putting this case on, but my fingers still slip. It doesn't cover the top edge. While these smartphones still have cases that are conveniently designed, you can open them by gripping the case. This one isn't like that. On Vivo's devices, the situation is pretty similar to Honor. They've also made a fairly thin smartphone, and opening it isn't super convenient either, I'd say. Of course, the bezels are a bit thicker, so generally you pick it up and, well, with a bit of effort, you open it. There. And in that regard, it seems okay. So, from the perspective of ergonomics, the design, for me the best options are, well, primarily the fold phones. I think Samsung did it best. They're the most ergonomic and the most comfortable. OnePlus Open, I think, also did a really good job. Another point I wanted to note is the power button. I'd never used a fingerprint unlock before. I mostly just used the front-facing camera, you know. But when Samsung released the first generation, the Z Fold 1, with this cool unlock, directly with the button right here. And it wasn't even really well thought out here yet. The power button is this one, and this one is the unlock button. You needed to press the power button first, and then unlock the smartphone by touching it. But then they really nailed it in the later generations of fold phones. They made it so the power button was also the unlock button. And so, without even touching it, but by just pressing it, I can immediately unlock the screen. Among all the smartphones, this unlocking is the most convenient. On the OnePlus Open, it's also in general quite convenient. The only thing is, I would have placed it a little lower. I would have put it somewhere here. But from a purely design perspective, they probably couldn't place it any lower because the Honor smartphone itself is quite large. Honor basically did it the same way. The only thing is that here the unlocking activates as soon as you bring your finger close. So for example, I'm bringing my finger up now, I feel the vibration, and it says, no, it didn't unlock. But in the end, because I touched it with the wrong finger 5 times, it didn't unlock, and now it says, enter the password, otherwise I can't unlock you. Or use face unlock otherwise. Because of this, there are constant false triggers. The most convenient thing is when you press and unlock. Vivo has done everything differently here. I think, again, it's super inconvenient. They've made a separate power button, and the unlock is under the screen. I think it's inconvenient when it's under the screen. For me, for example, it's hard to get used to after using foldable smartphones from Samsung and OnePlus. I mean, I either press like that, or I point the smartphone's front-facing camera at myself and press the button. And then face unlock happens immediately. So, I've set up a few unlock methods, and they generally work fine. But it's much more convenient when the power button has the fingerprint unlock built in, when it's triggered by a button press. The next point I wanted to mention is the SIM card tray location. The most correct placement is, in my opinion, on the OnePlus. They placed the SIM card tray on the half of the smartphone that has the main camera module. Here's the branded case from Samsung. And a big problem is that if I take off all these stickers, which will make the case very sticky by the way, and if I'll secure it here, that's it. It will stick to it quite firmly. But to change the SIM card, I have to detach and unstick it every time. The adhesive tape degrades in quality and then won't hold as well. And only then you can change the SIM card. I consider this ill-conceived, and Samsung just can't move the SIM card tray from the external screen to the internal, meaning the right side. I don't know why they haven't done it yet. Well, probably just so that people constantly buy these expensive cases. OnePlus, in this regard, really did a great job. I can get a case, secure it here firmly, thanks to, shall we say, this tape. And my SIM card tray is located on this side, and so I can easily attach the case here. There are no stickers on it anymore. I can also easily remove it. And, basically, you can insert the SIM card there and use it without any issues. And you won't have to worry about buying new cases. Honor did exactly the same. They placed the SIM card tray on this external module, this camera block, with the main camera. Here's the SIM card tray. There are no issues here. So here it is with its case. I can easily take this case off, insert a new SIM card here, and easily put the case back on, and I'm not experiencing any problems. By the way, Vivo also positioned this SIM card tray just like Samsung, on this side. But since the Vivo smartphone itself is definitely thinner, and you can clearly see its dimensions, it's noticeably thinner than the Samsung. There's no cover here. So this is the basic case from Vivo. We're putting it on, and that's it. If we need to change the SIM card, I simply get an ejector tool, pop out the SIM card, and replace it. Overall, if I were to summarize the main points about design and ergonomics, I would definitely prefer thicker smartphones. A foldable smartphone should be comfortable to unfold. And because the bezels here are wider than those on the Honor and Vivo, it's really very comfortable to unfold. Vivo and Honor did it differently. And if they continue to move towards reducing the bezels and making the smartphone even thinner, I can't imagine how it will be comfortably unfolded. I just can't imagine. Because the main feature of foldable smartphones is the large internal screen, because they reduce all these edges, using this main feature will be impossible. Let's talk about the interface and software. Because for foldable smartphones, this is the most important thing. And, basically, any foldable smartphone should primarily work very conveniently in multitasking mode. And here, of course, I would probably highlight Samsung as probably the leading device in terms of software. The software here works simply wonderfully. Yes, the only thing is, on the Z Fold 4 I experienced a rather unfortunate update. At that moment we were in Argentina, I don't know what it installed there, but I just couldn't use it properly. For example, when I record a long voice message in my messaging app. And literally, on the 3rd minute of recording when it's a long message, my phone just restarts. And, basically, all of my 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute recordings just stopped. It was an epic fail. At that moment I really wanted to smash the smartphone. But I didn't, because it's very expensive. Also, flexible smartphones were generally difficult to buy in Argentina. This is the only time, as far as I can remember, with all the Fold devices I've used, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and the 6th one I'm starting to use right now. So, with all 4 Fold devices, this one and the previous ones, there were no problems. I haven't caught any bugs like these on the 5th Fold. It only happened on the Samsung Z Fold 4. Then we returned to Russia, and basically, a different update arrived. I updated it, and this problem disappeared. Although I really wanted to switch devices already. And it was precisely because of these software bugs. But otherwise, Samsung works simply wonderfully from a software perspective. And the first feature I often use is that when we're using the front screen, that's this small screen, when we open the phone, the apps automatically transfer to the large screen, so you don't have to restart them. For this, in the display tab there's a feature called external screen switching. That's on Samsung. Just activate all apps. For example, we launch the YouTube Music app, I'm starting to play a song, and, for example, close the screen. The app immediately opens here. Very convenient. Now I want to enter some text here and, for example, search for something. To do this, I simply open it, and it immediately opens completely full screen here. On Samsung, this feature is implemented perfectly, 100%. This is how you can fully pinch it with 2 fingers and watch the video without cropping. If we, for example, want to switch to a smaller screen now, we simply fold the smartphone and continue watching the video on the smaller screen. We want to unfold the smartphone again. We unfold the smartphone, and immediately everything works very quickly and smoothly. The next cool feature that I constantly use on smartphones, and in this case we're demonstrating it on the Samsung, is split screen mode. You tap the button at the top and can basically run 2 modes. Either we split the screen in half, and by the way, this is a very convenient and really cool mode. So on the left side, we now have YouTube displayed. You can actually launch it here too, so you can see the picture. And, by the way, you can even expand it to full screen like this. And on the other side we can, for example, open notes. And in those notes, you can leave comments for the video. That's actually really convenient. I constantly use this 2-screen function. You can also create a multitasking mode like this. So here we have this little window. We move it over here, for example. At this moment we can listen to music over there. We turn on some music and listen. And here, for example, we're doing some other work that we need. So, now I'm hiding this thing. By the way, here is YouTube. And I'm launching this thing. But again, I do it this way. And I'm immediately multitasking, so to speak, running a windowed application. That is, I place it here, stretch it out, and for example, I can already type something here. If I want to open it, again we tap. Open YouTube, yes. Again, if we want, we can reduce its size. You can make it bigger, however you find convenient. That means absolutely any sizes you need. I didn't notice any bugs at all. For what purposes do I even use this smartphone? First of all, I review a huge amount of footage. Since we have quite a lot of channels on YouTube, I need to leave notes on many videos. So I open the application. Well, for example, we work within the Frame app. There, we open the video I'm checking. And on the other side, I for example can open a messaging app and leave voice comments. In my work, in my business tasks, when I need to review a large amount of video, leave edits, leave comments. I find it very convenient to do it this way. This kind of multi-window mode is essential for me. Other smartphones can do this too, but in my opinion, Samsung has done it most conveniently. And that's why I bought foldable smartphones in the first place, to speed up my workflow. Because I can't always sit down at a computer. For instance, we might be somewhere else, travel somewhere, and there's no computer readily available. Yes, foldable smartphones do lag behind in camera quality, but when it comes to multitasking, there's simply nothing that can match them. Well, another example, I need to send someone money through my banking app. I also open a window, full screen, a banking app. Then I open a list of transactions I need to make, a list of payments. Yes, and immediately, quickly, just like that, I enter these transfers and quickly send money. Essentially, this significantly speeds up the workflow compared to having to open it, hide it, open a banking app there, then back again, and then again open Telegram or Notes to check. Yep, okay, this payment I sent. This one I didn't send. Next. So things like that definitely make the work slower. Fortunately, this flexible smartphone's multitasking really speeds up your workflow. You can also just grab this app right here and drag it over here, for example. We opened it like this now, and we have synchronization. Next, we take YouTube Music, for example, and open it here. This way, we already have 3 apps open at once. And at the same time, we can still comfortably record something, video or photos. So, we currently have 4 apps open, and everything works no problems. Let's start recording video. Yes, as soon as we start recording video, again, the smartphone understands that this app needs to be paused. And here, well, basically we can write some text here. The video continues to record, and YouTube is still running. So in general, the multitasking is superb. I don't know, well, I haven't seen anything like this on other smartphones. You can easily work like this too. Yes, you tap the app and enter some text. Yes, there's something you need to leave in the notes. Then you hide it, and we get everything working here, full screen again. Here we can make notes. Samsung also brought some incredibly cool AI features into the new Samsung Z Fold 6. We won't be covering all of them in this video, I'll just talk about a few, because I've actually been using them already. First, it's a call assistant. Yes, meaning you can communicate with a person and get a text translation in real time. Next is the chat assistant. To have all these cool AI features work, you need a Samsung keyboard. Honestly, I don't really like the Samsung keyboard. I mainly use either the Google keyboard or Microsoft keyboard, SwiftKey. They seem to work better and are more convenient. I prefer their customization options. But Samsung's keyboard has all these cool features. And the first feature, for example, is a text generator. Essentially, you have ChatGPT built into your smartphone. Let's ask it to come up with a birthday card. I don't know. Come up with a birthday card. And we tap Create. And basically, artificial intelligence immediately generates birthday wishes like this. You can generate any amount of text, any text, thanks to this built-in artificial intelligence in the Samsung keyboard. It can also do different writing styles, convert to another style, check for spelling, check punctuation. For example, we're going to record the voice now. Hello. Now we're going to check our text for spelling. Here's the text Samsung provided, meaning it was checked for spelling and grammar. It says, there are errors, an improvement is suggested. That's actually because I dictated this text by voice. Let's deliberately record another text now, and make, for example, some mistake, so that it could try and fix it. Hi. Okay, hello. Let's see if it will correct the text. We enable AI generation like this, and tell it, let's do spelling and grammar. Will it be able to fix it? See, it corrects it. So, it suggests changing it to, hi, we're celebrating a birthday with the whole family today. It saw the mistake and suggests a correction, so it understands that the sentence isn't written entirely correctly. And basically, yes, we're saying, of course, let's fix that, and we can check and improve any text like that. I'd say that Samsung, from a software perspective, is currently in a super leading position. While other smartphones, flexible smartphones from other manufacturers, they aren't even, well, they probably didn't even come close to Samsung's functionality. And actually, even this AI generation, it really works incredibly well, meaning you can basically change absolutely anything. Here, for example, we want to slightly change the writing style, rephrase it a bit. Hello, today we're having a birthday celebration in a family setting. Yes, alright, let's do it, let's paste it in. Basically, you have some text. You just take it, check it with artificial intelligence, and immediately make corrections. It also acts as an assistant for notes. All of this also works in the notes from this app. It's called Audio Transcription Assistant. So, for example, we make a sound recording, then we transcribe it, and it outputs perfect text. You saw how it was when I recorded my voice directly through the device. And the voice recording, it was just fantastic. Also the photo assistant. You can transform portraits into various fun styles and edit them there. You can draw some notes there. And, by the way, it's very convenient for creative people who draw a lot. They can leave handwritten notes with a stylus. Yes. This is in general a very functional device. You can buy a case where you can insert this pen or stylus, whatever you call it, and you can easily draw with it. Take it out at any moment and draw. You are drawing on a huge, well, a large screen, almost like a tablet. It's almost 8 inches. Regarding other smartphones, the previous generations of Samsung smartphones work similarly. Here, well, basically, the Z Fold 6 has these AI features. The Samsung Z Fold 5 and Z Fold 4 don't have them yet. Let's now see how this window mode works on other smartphones. And, basically, it works here in exactly the same way as on the Samsung. Yes, it might be a little bit, well, a little bit different. I pull it up, drag it, yes, and basically place it on the screen. The app split the screen in 2 halves. Now we have YouTube on the left side, and for example, YouTube Music on the right side. We're playing music here, so YouTube stops, and YouTube Music plays. Here's the same thing again. For example, I want to add some notes, and pull them over there. So, I have 2 apps displayed, I drag them over, and set them as the third. Actually, it's telling me that 2 apps are in split screen mode. Split screen mode now allows you to open more apps side by side. If an app isn't fully visible, just tap it to show it fully. That's how it works. That is, we're using 3 apps, or maybe just 2 apps. So this is how it works on the Chinese smartphone, the OnePlus Open. Meaning that all 3 applications aren't displayed on the screen at once. They're displayed like this. Basically, I can see this application partially. I open it. To display all apps on one screen, swipe with 4 fingers to enter full view. Basically, I do it this way. And basically, I can see 3 apps at once, yeah. Basically, I can also write notes here. Let's see if we can fit in the 4th app. And we absolutely cannot force it anywhere. You see, unlike Samsung, which handled the camera app with no problem and could record video at the same time, the OnePlus Open can't. Meaning, yes, some app like Google Chrome, it works. Here, we have Google opened up. We also can't rearrange the apps here. In terms of flexibility in setting up this multi-window mode, Samsung has significantly more options. Now, regarding the work of both the small external screen and the main screen. On the OnePlus Open, it's implemented in a similar way. That is, everything works really well. For example, I'm watching a video and want to start watching it on a large screen. I just flip it over and that's it. It loads immediately. Here, I open it in full screen. Then I watch and check the video. Next, I close the smartphone again, and it continues to play immediately here. There's one thing that has really been stressing me out with these smartphones. I just went into Telegram and I simply can't tap. It turns out that when I tap, it might not work the first time. And what's another thing that's really stressing me out? It's the fact that there's a delay in audio recording. I mean, for example, I want to leave a message. I tap and hold, and usually it only activates after some time. I don't know what's causing it. Maybe the software is configured like this, or maybe there are some incorrect settings somewhere. But with Samsung, I leave a lot of voice messages in Telegram. Basically, I've never encountered these problems with Samsung. Now, regarding the Automagic V2. And here, the multitasking mode basically works in a very similar way. I just swipe like this. Here, it's implemented a little differently. For example, I want to add the YouTube app here now. So, we're finding our YouTube app from the large list of apps. It's probably somewhere around here. We can use this clever trick, create minimized video player here, watch videos, and do something there, like leave notes. We swipe again, notes pop up, so we can make another minimized window here. It's implemented a little differently. Or, alternatively, I want to watch a video now. So I'm clicking on it once now, and making it full screen. And for example, I want YouTube Music to be a small screen. To do that, I'm dragging it down. Here's how we can split it into 2 screens. I grab it, and this way I can swap them around. For example, I just swapped them around. I made this app small. Here are my notes. Again, I need to make it miniature. I grab it and throw it either here or here. to make it minimized. So right here, either the top right or top left corner, and the app becomes miniature. And here, I'm continuing to do some work. Again, there could be a lot of these apps here. We're writing something random here, and basically leaving notes. Here, if we need to hide this note, we just tap it and it goes here. Again, if we need to open it, that is, it's completely gone now. Yes, it's not working. I have one password in notes here. I'm opening it again. Okay, it's full screen for me now. Here, YouTube becomes this small minimized player. There. And basically, you can easily use it here. Here. Now, if we need to expand YouTube again, we open it full screen, and now we have YouTube full screen. In general, the implementation is also interesting. And I think, from the point of view of multitasking, I like the Honor Magic V2. And in general, it works quite well. But there's the biggest drawback. I have Telegram open, and I want to leave a voice message. I tap here to leave a voice message, and absolutely nothing happens. I mean, I tap, I want to leave a voice message, please, just let me leave a voice message. The screen simply doesn't respond to that. Right here, unfortunately, it's done in such a stupid way, because we don't have a lower panel, and it gets this, well, very bad responsiveness or something. Tapping here, everything is okay, I can attach a file, and it will work well. But leaving a voice message just doesn't work. No matter how many times I tap, see, it still can't leave a message. How do I get out of this situation? I mean, it takes a little extra time. I tap on the message, and this screen with apps pops up, and only then do I hold the message down, and the voice recording starts. Still, you have to wait. It just completely failed this time, see? I think that's all because of this flexible screen. I believe that these waterfall displays in flexible smartphones are completely unnecessary, and they only worsen the user experience with this device. Otherwise, this device performs well in apps, except for notifications. We're constantly getting notifications like these. Found an energy-intensive app, Bybit, it drains the battery with frequent background updates. And with this extra attention, it often gets very upset with all the apps. It really stresses me out though. Even though I told it, I set in the settings to stop complaining about these apps. They do drain the battery, okay? I agree. But you shouldn't complain about them, but it will still notify you every time. And, again, on this smartphone, I think the notifications aren't working very well. You know, on Samsung I always received all notifications, and on the OnePlus Open too. But here, due to this energy efficiency, which you just can't properly disable, problems started appearing. Now, about the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro. And here, it generally works in a similar way. For example, we have a multi-window mode. Down here is this little panel. I, for example, want to pull Google Chrome out here right now. Meaning, I pull it out and it works fine here. Let's go from split screen to full screen now. And basically, we want to add YouTube music here as well. Here, and basically, we launch the music. Now, for example, let's start a video, and let's see, yes. Well, here the music also stops immediately, and the video begins to play. We can also transition from this into a full screen mode. You know, similar kind of thing. We can switch to a small window mode or switch to another application. Yes, we can switch to another app. Let's go to the small window mode. And basically, we get exactly the same thing here as we did on the Otter. The only thing is that on the Otter, we could do this. It was like a miniature. We can't do that here, see? You can do it like this, see? Or, again, we switch to the small window mode. And here's how it works for us. And everything works very, very quickly here. We can't open 3 windows at once, like it was implemented on Samsung, unfortunately. When switching to a small window, that app immediately expands to fill the entire screen. If we want to add YouTube music again, for example, I grab it like this and pull it out to full screen. And now we can always work this way. Basically, it's implemented this way on Honor, and the same way on the OnePlus Open. Well, there are always some minor nuances everywhere. Of course, I like the way it's implemented on the Z Fold 6, 5.4, and other smartphones from Samsung the most. We can also do multiple windows on a regular screen. Here, the screen is split like this. I press leave the external screen on, we open the smartphone, and these applications immediately appear. Here, for example, YouTube music right now. Here, I'm watching a video, and now I'm folding it. And what happens? We continue to have 2 windows open at the same time. Well, basically, it's done conveniently. There's also a flex mode here. Well, it's actually present on other smartphones too. Here we can drag it around with our finger. A single tap. And here we can control it. I can use it like a mouse to navigate the screen. So, it's a pretty cool feature. If I, for example, need... Well, I don't really use this feature much, actually. But it's actually convenient if you don't have a stand. For example, you place the smartphone like this and can comfortably watch videos. Now, by the way, it switched to this screen. As soon as we open it a little bit, it turns on here. But the flex mode, it switches by itself as soon as I put it at 90 degrees. For example, if I open more right now and it switches to this mode right away. If I switch to flex mode, that is this mode, it immediately activates this touch panel and basically sets up the screen like that. Now, let's check the connectivity. How quickly will Wi-Fi work on these smartphones? For objectivity, we're measuring each smartphone one by one. The Z Fold 4 initially refused to measure the download speed at all. It ultimately showed a very weak result, even worse than the first Z Fold. But then, the 5th and 6th generations started to perform better and better. As for the Chinese models, it was a complete failure. The new Vivo X Fold 3 and Honor Magic V2 have worse results than the ancient Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 1. The OnePlus Open barely managed to show more or less the same result as the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4. It's a very strange situation, friends. If you have any thoughts on why that is, please write them in the comments. I've noticed repeatedly that on Chinese smartphones, my internet speed is significantly lower compared to Korean smartphones from Samsung, or from Apple for that matter. So the internet speed works wonderfully there. Now let's talk about the audio. And to be honest, all the smartphones sound really good. The volume is definitely implemented with headroom. For example, on the Samsung, we see speakers on the bottom, speakers on the top. The sound is very good, rich, and high quality. Yes, Samsung Z Fold 6 was made a little differently. They kind of hid this, let's call it grid. They made it like this. But still, the sound works very well this way, meaning like there's plenty of headroom, you know? I really like the sound on this smartphone. It's very pleasant to listen to. Like a piano or some other instruments. That's how the Z Fold 5 works. The volume is roughly the same, I think. Now, the OnePlus Open. The volume, I think, is about the same on all smartphones. They've also implemented speakers on top and speakers on the bottom here, by the way. They really vibrate a lot right here. And that's exactly how it's implemented on the Honor Magic V2. The speakers are located here, and accordingly, here. Vivo X Fold 3 Pro. By the way, there are only 3 speakers, but they work well. The sound on these smartphones is full. It's comfortable to watch movies and listen to music. The only thing I'd note is probably just the OnePlus Open. It's implemented in a really odd way, especially when you want to turn the volume down to listen to music at the lowest volume possible. There's a very noticeable jump here. So at this setting, you can still hear the music, then you bring it down just a little more and you can't hear it at all. So I felt like the volume control on the OnePlus Open could be better, specifically when listening to music very quietly, so as not to wake anyone up. And actually, if you look, all foldable smartphones install their speakers specifically here, on the external screen, so as not to interfere with the sound in any way. If I were to hold it, for example, like this, with my left hand. Sure, it's mainly designed for right-handed users, of course. And it's more comfortable for me to hold with my right hand. I can even do some things one-handed, basically. So you won't cover this grid that way. Even on the first Z Fold 1, the speakers were also placed on this screen. And generally the sound here is also very good and of quite good quality. This case that came with the Honor, that's my favorite case I've ever received in a bundle. It has a very convenient stand, and this bundled case is all you really need. That is, you can easily place the smartphone like this. Here, it holds well. You can lay it out like this. Here, you can even put it this way. The next case is from Vivo. It's a nice textured, probably eco-leather material. It actually feels really nice in your hand. The phone is also easy to put on, and that's it. It's generally very convenient to use. Unfortunately, there's no stand like with Honor. It would have been very useful here. OnePlus Open also included a case of a similar level. I, unfortunately, don't have their original case anymore, but it was very similar to this. I bought that on Amazon. The case works fine, it's normal. I haven't had any issues with it. Well, the only thing, again, a little detail, is that there's no built-in stand here. That's definitely a downside, and you're constantly going to have this thing detach on these smartphones. Now, regarding Samsung, I still have this Samsung, it's still alive. It's a really cool smartphone. And it's alive only because I'm using this case here. I think if I dropped it a few times, if this carbon fiber case hadn't protected it, the smartphone would likely be dead already. Samsung used to include these cool cases in their packages, but unfortunately things have really changed. And now, you need to buy a case for any smartphone from Samsung separately. If you take the original case, for example, this Samsung Z Fold 4 smartphone. I bought a case like this for it, and this, by the way, is one of my favorite cases. It's also easy to put on. On their original cases, this thing is always supposed to stick to your phone. This is double-sided tape, and it's clear that mine is already not sticky at all. It goes on like this. And basically. But honestly, there's no gap here like there was with the cases from OnePlus. Nothing's loose here, everything holds firmly. I really like this case. It was easy to hold and grip comfortably. It was great to take photos. I used this case for over a year and it held up wonderfully. It still looks really nice, and this little thing didn't fall off at all. Basically, well, it really does hold up very well. And I think it looks really cool. Stylish, modern, awesome. But these cases cost around $60–70. Basically, not cheap at all. In the next generation, the Samsung Z Fold 5, Samsung released cases like these. There's a front part that attaches, again, nothing rattles, everything feels solid. And basically the back side. Here's the cutout for the flash and the cutout for the cameras. I think it looks decent, and actually, this thing makes the case even nicer. And it's definitely very nice that Samsung did that. It's similar to the Honor case I just showed you. Here, basically you can position the smartphone in different ways with this stand, and it holds up pretty well. But, unfortunately, now it's not as convenient like it was with that case on the Fold 4. Well, you can't really hold it securely in your hand, so you can't be sure it won't fall out. This case also cost around $60–70, somewhere in that range. It's also convenient that this little thing comes off, and you can install a stylus here instead. But, to be honest, I tried using it like this, and it was super uncomfortable to hold, because the stylus sticks out, creating a bump, and it becomes uncomfortable to hold the smartphone. The downside was that this case didn't have a stand, so it wasn't convenient to set it on a table. And this case doesn't have a good grip to hold it. The funny thing with the latest generation, with the Z Fold 6, I received this smartphone pretty quickly thanks to my pre-order. But at the time, none of the stores I went to had cases for it. And just a few days ago, I went to Moscow, and in the Galaxy store, kind of an official Samsung store. And that's where I saw this cool case. I haven't put it on yet. Look, it still has these blue stickers on it. Well, you need to peel them off to be able to put it on. Samsung listens to its customers. Now we have this handy grip, so to speak. And also a convenient stand. With it, the phone is steady, everything is just incredibly convenient. You can also hold it, well, at least like this, and you can be sure the smartphone won't go anywhere. Basically, it's quite convenient. You can fit 2 fingers in here, even 3. Because of this case, it's not as comfortable now pressing the power button. You can only hold it like this. I would have preferred to put this thing here, make it the length of the entire phone, and move the stand to here instead. Basically, I think this exact setup isn't very convenient. What conclusions would I draw? In my opinion, the most convenient case is definitely one with a stand and a grip. These cases generally fulfill their basic function. The main thing is, they protect the smartphone from all sorts of damage, from drops. Of course, the cases from Vivo and Honor have no front edge. And basically, even when you lay the case down like this, screen down, it's very easy to scratch. Luckily, there's a film here, so you can easily peel it off, apply a new one, and there won't be any problems. With the other cases, Samsung generally does it correctly. It's definitely improving its cases, but Samsung's cases cost a pretty penny. I also wanted to note that all of these smartphones, except for the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, have a global version. That is, they work beautifully out of the box. No need to resort to workarounds or install anything. Everything is already included as standard. They work well with many different languages. If we talk about AI features, definitely the Z Fold 6 will work best. So basically, all 5 of these smartphones work excellently. Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, I don't know how it will work. I tried to clean everything out of it. I removed all the Chinese software. By the way, friends, if you want, I'm definitely going to make a separate video on how to fully prepare a smartphone for the global market, since I couldn't find any decent videos on YouTube that explain which apps you should delete and which you shouldn't. So, if you need such a video, be sure to write in the comments, friends. I'll try to shoot a video like this, as I already have 2 smartphones. These are the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro and the Vivo X100 Ultra. That is, the top camera phones on the market, and I'll try to do it. In terms of localization, yes. It's necessary to remove all Chinese apps. Configure it so that normal apps from Google Play receive notifications and updates. You can set this all up. I want to use this smartphone, really use it. I liked it, it works great. The cameras here are excellent. About the lack of proper localization for many languages on this smartphone, I think time will tell. Whether you can actually use this smartphone, or will you just suffer and miss out on a lot of features. But the basic apps, the most basic ones I use, worked really well on this smartphone right now. I found it generally comfortable to use and everything worked normally here. Well friends, let's sum things up. Which smartphone did I personally choose for further use? The Samsung Z Fold 6 with 512GB can already be bought for about $1,500. And of course, for this price I would recommend considering it. In terms of video recording, it has no competitors among foldable smartphones. It holds its own against the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro in photo quality, but that's still a smartphone for the Chinese market with all of the complications that come with it. It's more difficult to install and configure Google services. For some reason, not all smartwatches can connect to it successfully. There's no quick transfer function for apps and messages from another smartphone. Android Auto isn't working. Yes, the Samsung Z Fold 6 has a weaker battery and slower charging, higher PWM level. But this is compensated by a good camera, numerous software advantages, and the convenience of the system. I transferred everything from the Samsung Z Fold 4 to the Z Fold 6 in just a couple of minutes with a single tap, whereas transferring data from the Honor Magic V2 to the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro took almost 2 days. But the features on the Vivo are simply top-notch. The company preserved and ported all the cool camera features and shooting modes from the Vivo X100 Ultra to the X Fold 3 Pro, and for that they get a huge thumbs up. The cameras here work brilliantly. A bunch of tutorials, tips, and creative possibilities. I would recommend this smartphone to those who are willing to spend time setting up the system and sacrifice some convenience for great photos. Another smartphone I'd note for its shooting capabilities is the OnePlus Open. In our extensive camera test of foldable smartphones, it showed a very respectable result for the time. The smartphone takes high-quality photos both with the front-facing camera and the main camera system. It also boasts vibrant color reproduction and decent zoom. In that sense, I was frankly very disappointed with the Honor Magic V2, which I initially bought specifically for the cameras. I had hoped that all the features and tricks of the Honor Magic 6 Pro's camera would be carried over to the new flagship smartphone. However, that didn't happen. The camera module itself is worse here, and there are significantly fewer features. Friends, and if you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to this channel. And also be sure to write in the comments which smartphone you would choose. And bye-bye everyone.